Games are supposed to be fun, and fun can be different for different people. One man's trash is another's treasure. One man's nerve-wracking and stressful thing to do is another's day out, I guess. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 10 of the most stressful things gamers do for fun. Starting off at number 10, have you ever played those trucking simulator games where the object of the game is to be a trucker and you get caught in a traffic jam and that's you playing a video game where you're a trucker caught in a traffic jam? Somebody calls up to you like, hey, we're gonna go to dinner, and you're like, no, I'm in a traffic jam. Yeah, have you ever gotten caught in a traffic jam driving across the country for real? Like, you're making good progress, you're getting nearer to the destination, and then you stop for 2 hours because some dope pulled off of the exit ramp trying to do a barrel roll or some crap. It's always something stupid that happened too. Like, do you want to get to where you're going? I understand accidents happen and that causes a lot of traffic jams, but a lot of the time it's not an accident, it's just some dumb. And now you can experience that in a video game, driving a huge vehicle with significantly less mobility than your average vehicle. How fun. And number 9, when people do Microsoft Flight Simulator flights without skipping the boring parts, when they literally just do like 13-hour flights to Osaka or some crap. Oh yeah, I'm just gonna go to Moscow, spend the next 13 to 18 hours of my day doing that, sitting in my home office. It's like all of the elements that aren't great about flying, like the waiting parts, without any of the actual travel. And that's not to take a dump on Flight Simulator. It's a fun game, it's accurate, it certainly is amazing looking, but I can't imagine spending that kind of time not actually flying to Sydney or whatever. Like, they added those skip mechanics so you're not stuck doing that. Like, I understand like a marathon stream of doing something like that, maybe for a fundraiser. I feel like that would leave a lot of easy time for talking. I'm sure Flight Simulator is probably good for that, but if you're not doing something that obligates you to that endurance, that seems like the most dull and yet stressful because you have to sit there and like pay attention to it for like 13 hours. Things you could do. Ugh, why? I mean, that's even worse than the traffic jam by a lot. And number 8, killing optional bosses in the Soulsborne games. We're going to focus specifically on the Headless from Sekiro. These are ridiculous, stressful bosses with weird conditions you have to deal with, like magic fog that messes up your ability to maneuver. You have weird timing with your attacks. And like, the only reason you would want to do this is because each of these bosses drops a spirit fall, which is basically a version of the sugars you use to heal or boost attributes. You can just continuously use it, which is great, but these are incredibly tough battles, and 2 of them are underwater. And actually the underwater ones have their own reasons that they're less painful than the others, but they also have the underwater thing. Like, just maneuvering underwater is much worse. The whole thing is so tedious, difficult, and stressful. By the time you're done fighting one of these things, you're like breathing hard. At number 7, if you're really looking to stress yourself out for fun, you can play Elite Dangerous and go rescue people at the edge of known space, which is an incredibly time-intensive, resource-intensive, and patience-intensive undertaking. There are people who actually put together teams that just do this. That's the way they play the game. And I can't imagine doing that because there's so much going on in the game. But people will fly out to the edge of the galaxy and run out of fuel because they're just doing something like that. And then these large search parties will form, plan, and rescue people. It's cool on some level, but ridiculous on others. If indeed this were real life, I could understand some kind of search party and rescuing people at the edge of the galaxy, but it's not. I don't want to be stuck in traffic. I want to fly for 13 hours in virtual space. And number 6 is playing good horror games in VR. Like, for instance, playing Alien Isolation in VR is easily the best way to do it. Simultaneously, it is easily the most frightening way to do it. You will be 100% on edge the whole time because the atmosphere is so good in that game. Similarly, there's The Inpatient, The Forest, and Until Dawn Rush of Blood, but probably the best is Resident Evil 7. I mean, Resident Evil 7 is a great game with an incredible atmosphere anyways, but in VR, it's really a tour de force. Resident Evil 7 is this game that just does an incredible job of establishing itself as something totally new and different for the franchise, and then gradually crawling its way back to everything that Resident Evil is about. And actually being inside that environment, or at least virtually as close to it as is possible, is actually a really good experience if you don't mind how incredibly stressful it is, because, I mean, the atmosphere in that game creates stress like very few others. And number 5 is speedrunning games. Now, you might think, oh, that's actually a quick way to get through a game, that you kind of experience the most intense aspects of the game in rapid succession. That's really not why speedrunning a game is stressful. It's stressful because it's a repetitive exercise that you have to learn the game. The game stops being like a story or a narrative or a set of puzzles or whatever, and starts being a sequence that you have to learn in muscle memory. I don't know if you've ever watched somebody like speedrun Super Mario Brothers. I don't take Super Mario Brothers particularly seriously. When I go back to it and play it, I think, what a neat thing they came up with decades ago. Speedrunners look at it as a set of pixels, a set of physics rules, arrangements of items, and while watching somebody speedrun like Super Mario Brothers is really impressive, actually doing it is an incredibly disciplined, sequential set of actions that is very difficult and stressful, particularly if you mess up. And that goes for any game. It's not just Super Mario Brothers, obviously. At number 4, we're getting into some more like really specific challenges. This one I think is interesting. I mean, it fits into a general category of like challenge runs of specific games, but the one we're talking about here is Pokemon Nuzlocke. I don't know why it's called that, but the specific challenge is that if a Pokemon faints or gets knocked out, it's considered dead or unusable from that point forward in the run, and you cannot use it again. That is part of the challenge. If you can get through the game where every single time you lose a Pokemon, that's it for that Pokemon, it makes the game a lot harder. Now, arguably, to some people, it's more fun. The challenge itself is a lot more fun. But here's the thing. Given that somebody who had played Pokemon before basically gets used to the idea that a Pokemon isn't ever dead, they're just knocked out, it's essentially changing one of the most fundamental elements of the game, which can introduce a certain type of stress. Not only the whole changing of a rule that seems fundamental in the game, but also in difficulty level. At number 3, modding Skyrim. I could probably not say another word in this point, and everyone would know exactly what I mean, but for the sake of clarity, let's say you got hundreds of mods, and you want to use all of them on Skyrim. Well, that's going to be a bit of a task on account a lot of mods have bugs. They might make the game crash, they might be difficult to install, they might corrupt things, and then let's assume that you're good at installing mods and not having them bug out on their own. They also interact with each other in unpredictable ways sometimes, causing crashes and bugs that way. And because of that, a lot of people spend all of their time trying to mod Skyrim rather than playing the game with or without the mods. Now, I do understand there is a certain satisfaction with correctly installing all of the mods you want to and having it work. One, you can get Skyrim looking pretty amazing, but two, you feel like you outsmarted the machine in some way. So I get it, but it's very stressful still. At number 2, always playing games on their hardest difficulty. Like, for instance, in Halo, you decide that you're going to play Legendary with all the skulls turned on, or Call of Duty in Veteran mode, or Realistic mode, or whatever. And I get it. A lot of people like the challenge, and a lot of games provide a fair challenge at their highest difficulty levels, but a lot of them just kind of become unfair. Now, ironically enough, that makes them more satisfying to defeat in a harder difficulty mode. The less fair they are, the better you are at it, the cooler it looks. But still, a lot of the time when I'm playing a game, especially on my own free time, I kind of just want to progress rather than fight as hard as I can to progress. And finally, at number 1, leading a guild in an MMO. Now, it basically is all of the challenges of becoming a politician without any of the perks. You hold no real power whatsoever, your position is in a virtual world, and people, if they don't like you, can just quit and do something else, ignore you, or even block you. Doesn't work like that when you're elected mayor, I guess. But that's how it is. You're basically accountable to all the same types of decisions that an executive branch politician might be when holding a position. Or you could really go for it and do this in like EVE Online, like start a corporation in EVE Online. Although there are actual like real world perks for that, like EVE Online can transfer to real world wealth, which is truly an insane thing to say. That's all for today. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is of course a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable all notifications. And as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.